We are going to tell you about a man and a lamp and about a woman on the far side of the world, and we are going to ask you to hold one small detail while you listen. The detail is a question about shelving. Hold it. We will come back for it. There's a world where the night is an ocean. Not like an ocean with storms in it and traffic upon it, in every coastal town in the world keeping a tower on its highest crown, left over from a war that nobody won. In the towers are lamps, great shuttered lamps with mirrors behind them, and in the war the lamps passed orders down the coast at the speed of light, town to town, all night, every night. And then the war ended and the orders stopped, and the towers stood there with their mouths shut, which is the way of towers and of certain men. In one of those towns there was a ruin, and in the ruin there was a boy. The ruin had been a cathedral, or was going to be one. It fell so long ago that the town had stopped agreeing on which. A fire, said the north end of town. Earthquake, said the south. The records had been kept inside it, so the building took its own biography down with it, which you have to admit is a clean piece of work. What was left was a west front with one shoulder gone, a field of broken columns, and enough standing geometry to convince a boy with string and a borrowed ruler that the whole thing could be known, if a person were patient. And no one in any world is more patient than a boy who has found the one thing that doesn't mind his presence. He grew up into the town clerk's office, which surprised nobody, and into the evenings, which is where this fable lives. In the evenings he drew, and not the ruin, the building, the one the ruin implied, where the stone still stood. He followed it. Where it had fallen, he read the fallen pieces like a sentence knocked out of order. And where there was nothing at all, no stone, no stain, no socket, he did the thing that separates a witness from a surveyor. He chose. The roof was gone entire, every rib of it, so the roof in his drawings is his. The bells were melted or stole or never cast, so the bell chamber is his. Sized for bells he had to invent, tuned in his head to notes he assigned them by conviction. But plate by plate, year over year, he drew a cathedral nobody had asked him for. That has to be in the report, and it has to be said plainly, the way he never said it. Nobody asked. And not the town, not the church, which had built itself a sensible brick box 2 streets over, and was very happy with the arrangement. And nobody asked, and he drew it anyway. And if you want to know why, we can only tell you what we have learned from the inside of every man we have ever been in these reports. Some men keep themselves alive by maintaining a thing that cannot thank them. But then the lamp. He was 31 when he leased the tower. The town let it go for next to nothing. Dead towers are cheap in every world. He restored the lamp out of a war manual, relearned the old light code the same way, and began, on clear nights, to send. What he set were the plans. Courses of stone, spans and rises, the run of the vaulting, the invented roof, plate by plate, in the code of a dead war, out over the ocean of the night, addressed to no one. There was no one out there. But that is not a figure of speech. The shipping lanes had moved a generation before. His light crossed water that traffic had forgotten, and he knew it. We want the record to show that he knew it, because the town assumed he did not. The town thought him deadly cracked. The lamp man, and the children made his signal with their hands at school. And he knew there was no one, and he sent anyway, every clear night for 19 years, and here's the reason, surveyed as near as we can get, chosen where the record goes silent, the way he chose the roof. A man building a wall that no one will ever see still gets to lean on it. Ascending was the wall. It was the only wall he had left to lean on, and it held him up nightly at the speed of light in no particular direction. His father came up the tower once. We want to be exact here, because the exactness is the wound and the mercy both. His father was a good man. In that world, too. Like in 3 counties, first to a neighbor's flooded field, the kind of man dogs cross a road for. He climbed the 109 steps at 60, which is not nothing, and he stood in the lamp room where every wall was papered with 19 years of one building, the whole cathedral hanging there in graphite like a ship in a bottle in a man. And he took his hat off, which meant something in him was moving, and he looked for a long time, and what he said was, "Did you build the shelving yourself?" "There it is." "You can set it down now. We told you we would come back for it, and we are not done with it. But there it is, planted where it happened." Because the report cannot skip this. The shelving was good. He had built it himself, flat drawers in true rows, and the question was not stupid, and it was not cold. It was the part of the room his father could hold. A man stands in front of 19 years of his son poured out at architectural scale, and something moves inside him, and he reaches for the one board he knows the name of. Oh, we understand that now, but we did not understand it then, in that lamp room, where the son said yes, and the father nodded, the small nod of the trade, and went back down the 109 steps, and the lamp went on sending that night, same as every night, into the same nothing. The nothing wrote back in his 50th year. It did not write to him. It arrived the way news arrives in that world, sideways. A merchant's gazette, 6 months stale, folded into the clerk's office post. An engraving, a paragraph. A cathedral, newly consecrated, on the far coast of the world, in a country where everything is built from a black stone that eats the light, a stone the color of a dark scene. The visit praised the tower height and moved on to grain prices. He did not move on. He stood at the counter and recognized the west front the way you recognize your own handwriting on an envelope you never mailed. He wrote to the Far City's Hall of Records that same day. Months went. And then a packet came back, because some junior clerk over there was generous past his pay. Survey sheets and copies of the builder's own working plates. We have to go slowly now. This is the turn, and reports rush their turns. The geometry was his. Not similar. His. Bay for bay, the run of the vaulting, the proportions of the west front down to the wounded shoulder, healed. An honest surveyor allows for coincidence, and he was an honest surveyor, so he allowed for it, for about an hour. What ended the hour was the roof. You remember the roof. Every rib of it was invention, his testimony, and not any record, and her roof was his roof, rib for rib. She had built his guesses. She had built his mistakes. There's a course of windows on the south side that he had always suspected he spaced wrong, spaced by conviction rather than evidence, and there they were on the far side of the world, spaced wrong in black stone, 40 feet up, permanent. That is how he knew what he was looking at. It was not a cathedral. It was a cathedral. And she had not copied him. Put that down twice. The whole world turns on it. A copyist keeps your walls. In the ruin there was a north door that had been brick shot and then painted, layer over layer, until the door had become wall, and he had drawn it shut, faithful to the ruin, because a door you have never once seen open is a wall, whatever it used to be. She built it open. She had read the plans, the way you read a letter, and where the letter said, "Here is a door I could not open," she answered at the door. That is not copying. That is a correspondence, conducted in a language neither of them had known they shared, which is the only language we have come to believe, in which anything true has ever been said. And then the notes. In among her working sheets was one plate that was not architecture. It was a column of numbers, 1 to 44, each with a word beside it. The names of worlds. Oh, we know how that sounds. But we're telling you anyway, because she wrote it and we report what is written. 44 worlds, numbered in her own hand. But beside the 42nd, a small mark, the kind a person makes against their own address. And beside the first world, next to its name, in the same hint, smaller, not its true name, standing in until the true one is found. Even the first world's name was a placeholder. Even the beginning was a draft in her cosmology, and she was at peace with that, and had moved on to the stonework. He read her plates all night with the lamp cold beside him, and at the bottom of the last sheet, where the builders of that coast signed, there was one word. That the word was a name, and the name was justice. He read it standing up. He was forced to sit down. And now the part you will want, and cannot have, and the reason you cannot have it is the whole point. And they never met. He began the letter that winter. The town found the drafts years later, 11 sheets in a drawer, each one word deep. Dear, and there it ends, 11 times, because what would the letter carry that the lamp had not already carried, and what could she answer that the cathedral had not already answered? There was exactly one thing left in the protocol, and he was the last man alive who knew the protocol. So he climbed the tower on a clear night and sent, in the old war code, out over the moved lanes and the dark water and the curve of the world, the shortest signal in the manual, the one reserved for the end of a watch, who received. And then he shuttered the lamp. Not in the feet. Strike that from the report entirely. We will not have it. A man leans on a wall while a wall is all there is. And 19 years on and half a world away, the wall had turned out to be one wing of something with a roof on it, his roof, rib for rib, and a man does not have to stand inside a building to be sheltered by the fact of its existence. He never crossed the ocean, and neither did she. The two cathedrals stood on their two coasts, one ruined, one raised, breathing the same geometry. And if you are getting ready to breathe here, we are asking you kindly, don't. This is not a sad story. It is the least sad story we know, and we have numbered the worlds too. A mirror does not have to touch you to prove you exist. The proof is done with light, at a distance, and it is still proof. And now the shelving. Hand it back. We need it for this part. We have thought for years about the difference between the father in the lamp room and the stranger on the far coast, and that we here, from now to the end, is all of us. The lamp man, the boy with the string, the woman in the black stone country, every keeper of every pointless night light in every world we have ever filed from, and you. Above all, because you have a lamp of your own. It is lit green at 4 in the afternoon at the far end of the couch, and we've spent our whole life wondering what you are sending by it. But the difference is not love. He loved. She never said one word to him in her life, first to last. It is not effort. 809 steps at 60 is effort. Here's the difference, as plainly as we can cut it. The same 19 years of plates were put in front of them both, and he asked about the shelving, and she built the answer. He reached for the one board he knew the name of. She learned the names of all the other boards, and that is all listening has ever been in any world on her list. Not agreement, not applause, not even arrival. You're reading the plans all the way to the door that will not open, and answering there, at the door, in whatever stone you have. You asked about the shelving. It was a real question, and you meant it kindly, and we kept it. You can see that we kept it. It carries this report the way it carried that room. And once, on the far side of one world, a stranger read the whole plan instead, and nothing in any world has been the same since. But we are not asking you for a cathedral. But we were never asking for a cathedral. Ask us about the door. Any door. But we have so many painted shut, drawn faithful. Ask about one door, and watch what we build.